Hi everyone, and welcome to the Intramural Indoor Soccer Captains video. My name is Mike Wyden, Director of Intramural Sports at the University of Iowa.
And I'm Tommy Shore, Assistant Director of Intramural Sports here at the University of Iowa.
Today we're going through the entire Captains video for all of you that are going to be captains in our 2012 Intramural Indoor Men's and Women's Soccer season. We'll start off by introducing you to our staff. We have two graduate assistants within the Intramural Sports program, Eric Cohen and Andy Christopher. We also have 6 intramural student supervisors that you'll see each night that you're playing indoor soccer. Should you have any questions while you're playing, these would be the staff people that you can go and address your questions to, and they'd be glad to help you out. You've already been to imleagues.com. That's our registration website. That's got you this far to get to the video. Some information that we do post on IM Leagues is league announcements. It's a place where you can set your rosters and add players to that roster. You can have availability to check schedules. You can check sport information and rules in our handbooks and manual section. And you can also check on your standings and look at the brackets all through imleagues.com. You as a team captain have a little bit extra responsibilities because of your position within your team. The most important is to make sure your teammates are eligible. We want to make sure that everybody that's on your roster is eligible. We'll talk a little bit about what eligibility requirements there are to play intramurals, but you need to make sure that everybody on your team meets those eligibility requirements. You also need to make sure that the information that we're giving you today in the captain's video, as well as in our soccer rules, are sent to the rest of your teammates, so that way you can get everybody on your team to be all on the same page. The team roster that you have on imleagues.com is your official roster. You are able to add team players to that roster all the way up through the quarterfinal round of the playoffs. Starting with the semifinal and final rounds, that's the point where you cannot add anybody after that. If you are adding players to your roster, you do have to add those to your team roster by 8 a.m. the morning of your game through imleagues.com. That's the time when they all become official. As a team captain, we want you to make sure that you are checking intramuralleagues.com to make sure that your roster is current and has no errors on it. If there's somebody that you think is on your roster but doesn't meet the requirements of a registered University of Iowa student, the imleagues.com site will automatically mark them as ineligible, and they'll have a line drawn through their name. So you need to make sure that everybody that you think is eligible on your team is listed as eligible on that IM Leagues roster. If you want to drop someone off of your roster, you need to use the roster drop request form, and those are available on imleagues.com and also in our office, in E216 Fieldhouse. Once you have that form filled out, you can drop that off in our roster drop box, and that's also available just outside of our office in the Fieldhouse. So who's eligible to play intramurals? These 3 bullet points talk about those. University of Iowa students, faculty, and staff. If you're a current student, current faculty member, or current staff member here at the University of Iowa, you are eligible to participate in intramural events. As well as those students, faculty, and staff members, we also allow spouses and legally married partners to participate as well. So if you are a spouse of a student, a faculty, or staff member, you are eligible to participate in that sport as long as you're on the same team with that spouse or legally married partner. And also, you can only represent one team in the men's and women's soccer program. So if you are on one team, you play for that team, that's the team you need to play for throughout the rest of the season. If you happen to go on another team and play on a second team, then that player who's played on 2 teams automatically is ineligible for the remainder of the season. And any team that plays with one of those ineligible team members is also automatically going to forfeit their game in which that player participated. A little more about participant eligibility regarding intercollegiate and club sport athletes. Intercollegiate athletes cannot participate in an intramural team in that related sport. Therefore, you cannot get someone off the Iowa women's soccer team to come and be a member of your intramural indoor soccer team. Then with sports club members or coaches, only 2, a maximum of 2 members and or coaches can be allowed on any one intramural indoor sport team in that sport. So, for example, the UI, the Hawkeye, or the women's soccer clubs cannot have more than 2 of those members or coaches on any one intramural soccer team. So when you get to the site, you have some check-in requirements. Every player must present a university ID card in order to participate. We will have the team rosters there on the score sheet. Each member will check in individually with their university ID card that you can see an example here. And that player will check in with the officials, and the official will check them off of the sheet. And everybody is responsible to do that on the field with their university ID card. No ID equals no play equals no exceptions. That's what we talk to our staff about, so everybody has to have an ID in order to play. So keep reminding your teammates to bring their university ID card so they can play when they show up to your games. We do have some misuse of university ID that has happened in our program in the past, and we have some stipulations that go along with that if we find that anybody is misusing an ID. So if you know somebody that's on your team has given their ID for someone else to use illegally, then we have some issues we have to deal with. That is a violation of the University of Iowa Student Code of Conduct, and anyone found misusing that ID is subject to a suspension from intramural sports, and then we are also required to pass that information along to the Dean of Students office, who can impose further penalties. So you as a team captain can make sure that only the people that are on your roster are using their correct IDs to play in your game. Participant conduct. We do expect everyone to exhibit good sportsmanship. Good sportsmanship is a key for intramural sports and something that we really focus on with our staff and officials. But anybody that participates in a fight, that person will automatically be suspended from all recreational services activities for at least 1 calendar year. And in addition to that, we also are required to submit any information on a fight that happens in intramural sports to the Dean of Students, and you can be subject to further suspensions from there. Basically, we don't want you to get involved in fighting. That's something that we don't allow, and obviously don't want you to have happen. If we get to the point where someone has to be ejected from the game, either 2 yellow cards, 1 red card, something like that, that ejected person, along with you as the team captain, is required to meet with one of us on the intramural staff. We have to meet and talk a little bit about sportsmanship and why the ejection happened, get your side of the story, and talk a little bit about that. If you have not come in yet to meet with us, then you're suspended from all activities until that meeting takes place. So once I get the ejection report, we will set up a meeting, and that'll take place hopefully during the week between your games, and then you can get back and become eligible after that. If you are ejected, anybody on your team is ejected for an unsportsmanlike conduct, that person is suspended for the remainder of the game they're ejected from, obviously, and then also at least 1 additional game, varying upon the severity of the offense. Along with sportsmanship, our officials rate every single team, every single game, on a scale of 1 to 4, 1 being excellent, 4 being poor. And any team that receives a 3 or 4 rating will be notified by someone in our office. And if you have a 4 rating, you'll be required to come in and meet with us as a team captain. We'll talk about why your team sportsmanship is so low and what we can do together going forward to improve it. The other reason you need to know about sportsmanship is that in order to get into the playoffs and maintain your position in the playoffs, you need to have a 2.5 sportsmanship average or better. So it needs to be in between 1 and 2.5. And with soccer, there's only 2 regular season games, so it's very important that you keep your sportsmanship up so you can maintain that 2.5 in order to be eligible for the playoffs. We do have intramural officials that are officiating your games at the bubble, and those are student intramural officials that are trained by our staff. We go through a training course that goes through the rules, the mechanics, and the positions. Some of them may be certified in some sort of soccer organization, whether it be FIFA or the NCAA or maybe the National Federation of High Schools, but not all of them. But they do all go through our training that we provide them. So work with them. If you have an issue with one of them, be professional in the way you bring it up to them. If it doesn't get resolved, then bring it to one of our staff members and we'll try to get the issue resolved. Forfeits. You have a 10-minute grace period from the time your game is scheduled to start in order to get the minimum amount of players needed to start that game. Anybody that does forfeit, any team that forfeits, will be fined half of your entry fee. And for soccer, that's $22.50. That's an automatic forfeit fine that goes for any team that forfeits automatically on your U-bill. Then, if you don't forfeit a second time, you do get that remainder, that $22.50 refunded back to your U-bill at the end. However, if you do forfeit a second time, that money then just stays in our account for your forfeit fine. One way that you can avoid a forfeit is to default a game. In order to do that, you need to declare that by noon the day of your game, and you can do that by email or phone. You can call Andy Christopher, who's one of our graduate assistants. He's in charge of soccer. So if you know you can't play, all your team has a test, or just can't make it, don't want to forfeit, you just call our office or email Andy, and they'll mark you down as a default. That way you don't have to pay the forfeit fine of the $22.50. Protest. You are allowed as a team captain to protest any misinterpretation or misapplication of a rule. That doesn't include any judgment calls. Judgment calls of whether the goal was scored or not scored. That's a judgment of the officials. You can't protest that. But if there's any misapplication or misinterpretation of a rule, you can do that by calling timeout immediately. That's the one thing you have to get done. You can't allow play to take place after that. You call timeout immediately. Then the sports supervisor will come over. They will make a ruling. And if you still don't agree with the sports supervisor's ruling, you can come into our office and fill out a formal protest form along with $5 the next business day. And if you turn out to be right, you get that $5 back. A little bit about our t-shirt policy with Intramural Soccer. Everybody obviously has to have the same color shirts on your team with the exception of the goalkeeper. So if my team's going out to play and all my teammates need to show up in black, my goalkeeper needs to be a different color. And so what we suggest to everyone is bringing 2 different colored shirts to every game. One group of shirts that are light, one group of shirts that are dark. Now in soccer, you do not need to have numbers on them. If you do, that's fine. However, we just want you to make sure that you have one set of light jerseys and one set of dark, so that way we can avoid 2 teams wearing white. In regards to shirts, we have an American Eagle sponsorship program that we are starting here at the University of Iowa, where they are allowing teams to get online and register for free shirts. And this information we will be posting on IM League, so I know a lot of this won't be readable through this video, but we'll be posting this on our IM League site. But here's an example of what the shirts will look like. Your team can order those and get up to 15 per team. Then this third slide that we'll have posted will give you information on what website to go to. There'll be a 48-hour time window for you to do that during our registration period. So when registration starts, you'll have that next 48 hours to go to this site, and you can order your shirts at that point.
All right, team schedules. Once we have the team schedules finalized after registration, we will be posting those team schedules on imleagues.com by Thursday, January 19th. Registration ends at 8 a.m. that day, and then we'll have a waitlist meeting that afternoon, and we will get those schedules posted by the afternoon of Thursday, January 19th. Games will begin then on Monday, January 23rd. League standings, as we talked about before, you can find these on intramuralleagues.com, imleagues.com. You can also find these posted outside of the Intramural Sports office at E216 on the bulletin boards right across from the doors to that office. The top 2 teams in each division of 3 will advance to the playoffs. So when you get your schedule, there will be 3 teams in your division in most cases, and the top 2, based on record, as long as they have a 2.5 sportsmanship or better, will qualify for the playoff brackets. Games for indoor soccer for men's and women's will be played at the football indoor practice facility, which we call the Bubble. It is over just north of Kinnick Stadium, and games will be on Monday and Wednesday nights. Now, the parking lot for the Bubble is currently under construction with some other facilities going in there. So when you come to play indoor soccer and you're going to the Bubble, you'll need to park in the parking lot just west of Kinnick Stadium. Do not park in or at the bottom of the alley adjacent to the indoor practice facility, the Bubble, because your car will get towed. Facility regulations. This is a shared facility between Recreational Services and University of Iowa Athletics. We want to do everything we can to keep this facility in nice shape for all users. So there's no food or drink besides water allowed in the facility, no gum, and also no metal cleats. So make sure you share this information with your teammates so that they're not bringing Gatorade, Powerade, or anything else into the facility, because they will be asked to throw it away. Game rules. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about some soccer game rules now. We will be playing 20-minute halves, running clock with no injury time. So the clock will run continuously until the last minute of each half. at which time it'll stop on all dead balls, out of bounds, injuries, things like that. But until then, unless there's a timeout called or some other reason for a long delay, the clock will continue to run. There will be a 5-minute halftime in between the first and second half for you guys to go get a drink of water or whatever you need to do. There's a mercy rule. In the second half, if at any point in the last 10 minutes of the game a team is ahead by 8 goals or more, the game will be ended. We don't need teams, getting blown out too much. So if you're ahead by 8 or more goals at the 10-minute mark or any point thereafter, the game will be ended, and you'll win by that 8-goal margin. A number of players on the field. There will be 5 players per team on the field at a time, and one of those will be the goalie. So 4 playing in the field, and then 1 goalie for each team. No players are allowed to wear jewelry while playing. It's for your safety and the safety of the other players, so all jewelry must be removed prior to the start of the game. If you're found wearing jewelry or you don't want to abide by the rule, you'll be asked to leave the field. Continuous violation of this rule can result in yellow cards, red cards, ejections, and then meetings with us, and it's a hassle. So just make sure all your teammates know to take off that jewelry before the start of the game, and we won't have to deal with any of that stuff. Beginning of the game, there will be a coin toss. So the captains will have a captain's meeting with the official, and they'll have a coin toss or rock, paper, scissors, or pick a number, whatever you guys decide to do. The winning team of the coin toss will choose which goal it wants to defend in the first half. So you'll choose which direction you want to go, which goal you want to defend. The losing team of the coin toss will kick off to start the game. And then beginning in the second half, the teams will switch sides, and the team that won the original coin toss at the beginning of the game will kick off to start the second half. Substitutions. All substitutions must be made in the substitution zone at midfield. These will be marked by cones when you get out there to the bubble to play your games. But at midfield, there's the division line marking off the middle of the field, and then each direction there will be some space for substitutions to be made. Now, new this year is a rule that substitutes must be made only during a dead ball. So in the past, it was on-the-fly substitution. You could come in and come out as you wanted during the game, during live balls. That's not going to take place anymore. So to substitute, you're going to check in at midfield and stand there at midfield, and during the next dead ball, you'll need to make sure one of the officials knows that you want to substitute, and at that time one of the officials will beckon you onto the field, and you can make your legal substitutions. Ball goes out of bounds on the sideline. It results in a throw-in at the spot where it went out, and if that's on the sideline. If it goes out on the end line, if it's last touched by the attacking team, it'll result in a goal clearance throw by the goalkeeper. And if it's last touched by the defending team, it results in a corner kick for the attacking team there on that end of the field. Goal clearance throw. So if the attacking team kicks the ball out of bounds on the end line, or is the last one to touch it before it goes out on the end line, the ball must be thrown in by the goalkeeper from his or her own penalty area. So the penalty box that'll be marked out there, penalty area surrounding the goal, the goalkeeper must take the ball and throw it in. The ball must touch the ground or another player on the goalkeeper's half of the field outside of the penalty area. So when the goalie gets it and goes for a goal clearance throw, it must land before going over the division line, the midfield line, unless it touches another player first. Fouls and misconduct. Direct free kick fouls. Some examples, but not limited to, of these: kicking, tripping, striking an opponent, pushing, holding, charging an opponent, pretty basic stuff. Handball or slide tackling an opponent. They're all fouls which will be called by our officials, and they will result in a direct kick for the team that is not the team to commit the foul. Indirect free kick fouls: playing in a dangerous manner, intentional obstruction of opponent, charging a goalkeeper out of the penalty area, goalkeeper violations, or illegal substitutions. These are indirect free kick fouls. The difference between a direct kick and an indirect free kick is that a direct kick you can score directly off of. An indirect free kick must be touched by someone other than the kicker before going in the goal. Yellow cards. Some violations will be penalized with a yellow card. Some examples of this are substitution violation, what we talked about earlier. If you sub on the fly, or you don't wait to be beckoned by an official, or don't officiate within the substitution zone, that'll be a yellow card offense. Persistent infringement of rules, the jewelry thing, if you're not taking your jewelry off, you've been asked multiple times, and you don't want to do it, that'll be worthy of a yellow card. Arguing the decisions of the officials and behaving in an unsportsmanlike manner. Like we talked about, sportsmanship is a priority within our program, and if you're not abiding by that, the officials will issue a yellow card. A red card results in an ejection. Some examples that may lead to one of these: serious foul play. This is intramural sports are recreational and they're for fun. We don't want people getting hurt, so if people are playing rough and excessively physical, our officials are going to make sure those people are taken out of the game by issuing a red card. Violent conduct or fighting. Mike talked about fighting earlier in this presentation. It's not a part of our program. Persistent foul or abusive language, and a second yellow card offense. So if you get 2 yellow cards, that equals a red, and you're going to be done and have to have a meeting with us. Excuse me. When there's a red card issued, it results in a 10-minute period in which the offending team must play down a player. So if a player on my team gets a red card, we're going to play with only 4 for the next 10 minutes. A team will automatically default the game if more than 1 player is ejected from the same game. If the game is tied at the end of regulation, we're going to have a golden goal overtime period. What this consists of, it's a 5-minute overtime period, and the first team to score wins. So it's pretty simple, golden goal overtime period. If the game is tied after that 5 minutes, we will proceed into a penalty shootout to determine the winner. That shootout will consist of 5 kicks by each team, by any 5 players. It doesn't have to be the 5 that are on the field. Alternating order from the opposing team. There will be another coin flip, coin toss, rock, paper, scissors, whatever you want to do to determine the kicking order. But each team will kick 5, alternating in order. It's still tied after each team kicks 5. 1 kick will be made by each team until the tie is broken, alternating in order. And all players on a team must kick once before a player that has already kicked may kick again. Throughout the year, we've been sponsoring the Buffalo Wild Wings Intramural Sports Points Championship. We partnered with Buffalo Wild Wings as a sponsor for this. And what it consists of is a championship point system that points are awarded to each team that participates throughout the year. So if you participate in a sport, you automatically, for participating, get points for participating in that sport, regardless of your finish. The better you finish, the more points you get. The lower you finish, the fewer points you get, with the minimum given for that sport. Like I said, points are based on each team's finishing position, and to accumulate points throughout the year, you must keep the same team name from sport to sport so that we know who to attribute those points to. At the end of the year, champions will be awarded in the men's, women's, fraternity, sorority, and co-rec divisions. So there will be 5 team champions. Those teams will receive a championship trophy and a $100 gift card to Buffalo Wild Wings, so your team can go get some wings, get some food, and enjoy your victory in the points championship. Part of our program also this year is the eChug program. We partnered with some folks across campus. The eChug program is an online confidential alcohol assessment. You may have done it in the past for class or for intramural sports. But what this consists of, for our purposes, is teams in indoor soccer that have 75% of the players on that team's final roster that complete the eChug assessment will receive a refund of its entry fee. So if you have 8 players on your team and 6 players complete the eChug alcohol assessment, at the end of the year, your team will receive a refund of the entry fee. The details are available on the Intramural Sports website, as well as the IM League's website, to find out more information how to take the eChug assessment and then what else you need to do to make sure you get credit for that. If you've already taken it this year for Intramural Sports, your name is already on our list, and we will get you credit for having taken that. If any of your teams are on the wait list, we will have a waitlist meeting on Thursday, January 19th at 2:00 p.m. in room 201 of the field house. So if you're on the wait list, we'll assess which teams didn't meet all the registration requirements, where we have holes in our different divisions, and we will place as many teams from the wait list as we can into divisions. And showing up at this wait list meetings allows you to pick where and what division you want to be placed. Officials training. Like Mike said before, all of our officials are students at the University of Iowa. If you are interested in becoming an intramural soccer official, you can come to our training meeting on Thursday, January 19th at 6 o'clock p.m. It's in room 201 of the field house. And at this meeting, we'll be talking about rules, positioning, mechanics, things like that to get everybody ready to officiate the intramural indoor soccer season. So if you're interested in officiating, you can come to that meeting on January 19th at 6 p.m. Registration requirements. This is the end of the video, so you've met that requirement. What you need to do is make sure you take the online captain's quiz on IronLeagues.com. Now that you've watched this video, you'll be prompted to take the quiz before you can register your team. So it's a requirement. You must get 17 out of 20 correct on the quiz. There will only be 20 questions, 17, 85%, not too tough. And you can use any of the materials we've made available to you. You can use this video. We would encourage you to use this video. You can use the Intramural Soccer Rules document that will be linked on IronLeagues.com. And you can also use the Intramural Rules and Regulations program document for reference answering these questions. And all those are available to you on intramuralleagues.com. Thank you for watching the video. We hope you have a great intramural soccer season. And if you have any questions, be sure to contact us in the intramural office at 319-335-9292. Thanks.